How's it going, everyone? My name is True Underdog, and many of you have been asking for weeks now that I make an Aftermath tier list. And honestly, it might still be a bit early for a video like this, but at the very least, I've gotten to make a video on every character since the update. So I have a semi-decent idea of where these characters should go, but also, just for reference, I have both Sonic Fox and Ninja Killa's tier list to my right as well as a good reference point. That way, hopefully, I don't get too biased because I'm trying to make these tier lists as legit as I possibly can. It's never just my opinion, it's also a bunch of research from other tier lists as well. So without any further ado, let's get right into it. Alright, so first up, everybody's favorite combat kid, yes, I'm being sarcastic, Jackie. You all know I love playing Jackie. She did not get nerfed at all in the update, or at least not in any way that matters. So she is still very strong, and pretty much everybody else who was up here did get nerfed a little bit, or at least changed in some way that's a bit negative. Jackie pretty much didn't get touched, so she's still very good. All three variations, super solid. They're all a lot of fun. Actually, variation 2 I recommend trying out. Centurion also. Centurion got some very nice changes. I think Centurion could actually be in front just because I don't think Centurion had any bad matchups to begin with. She didn't really want you in her face all the time, but now thanks to variation 3, she can actually excel there as well. So I honestly feel like neither of these characters has any bad matchups, and keep in mind that is what a tier list is. It doesn't rank which character is just the strongest, it says how many good matchups they have. So in other words, in theory, this entire row could be even as long as none of them have bad matchups. Though typically left is stronger and right is weaker, and then of course top to bottom, top being the strongest, bottom being the weakest. But I'm just saying, this top row is pretty much all the favorable matchup characters. And of course we gotta find Joker, there he is. Joker is definitely gonna be up here too. I think all three of these characters, if I'm being honest, they're tied. They're all really good. Joker got some damage nerfs. That's it. He's still a super solid character, still doesn't have any bad matchups really, still crazy pressure, absurd range, very easy crushing blows, no meter needed for combos unless you want to, 50-50s, all that dirty stuff, so he's still up there. And then how about Garris? Let's talk about Garris. Has easily one of the best armor breaks in the entire game now. And just like Jackie, I would argue no bad variations. In fact, none of these characters have bad variations. They may have some variations that are weaker than others, but none of them are bad. So Garris is definitely up here. And then I think at the end, I'm gonna go ahead and put Liu Kang. He did have a nerf to his offense. I'm not sure how severe it is, but he is the only character I will say is not tied. So these first three are tied, then it goes Garris and then Liu Kang. I think that makes the most sense. He had some adjustments to his other variations to kind of compensate, but his armor break seems very weak, as in like why bother most of the time, and he also had a universal nerf on his offense. I'm not sure how substantial that nerf is, but he did receive one to all three variations. And next up we have the S tier. From here on out it's gonna get tougher. I'm gonna go ahead and throw Cabal up there. Cabal got universally better in a lot of regards, and variation 3 especially got pretty good, and his armor break is super reliable. I think Jax is also very strong, and Aaron Black got a very good armor break in variation 3, but I'm not sure if variation 3 is the one you want to play, but even so, he got a universal buff too, with a couple of his strings that can now cancel into anything to extend combos, so that's also very strong. I don't know, Sonic Fox has him way up here, but keep in mind that their tier lists are actually pre-Aftermath, and while there weren't substantial changes for every character, there were some pretty big ones for certain characters. So I'm actually liking this order so far, just because I feel like Aaron Black and Cabal can be dangerous from any area, because Cabal has airborne projectiles, whereas Aaron Black can just zone you out, period. He has a one-button projectile, it's stupid strong. I'm gonna go ahead and put Cassie in front of them too, because for Ninja Killa and Sonic Fox, Cassie's actually in this top tier. I don't know if I necessarily agree with that, but she did get a lot of additions to her variation 3, and she's a bit more solid in general. And a lot of you might get mad at me for this one, but I'm gonna go ahead and put Shang Tsung up there. I had a lot of people getting mad at me at my last tier list saying that Shang Tsung was up there, and they're like, no he's not, no he's not. Well, according to pro players, he is, so you can argue with them. It's not just me saying it, it's also pro players who say that Shang is up here. And I find this especially true in the Aftermath update because now he has 3 viable variations. I'm not sure how strong variation 2 Spellmaster is going to be, but it's got a lot of the fun toys like his armor break. And even if you don't factor in variation 2, he still has a lot more fun conversions thanks to the update as well that can apply to various variations, not just variation 2. Now here's something I find a bit crazy. Both Ninja Killa and Sonic Fox have Terminator up here. I'm not sure if I agree with that. For now I'm gonna put him down here, but I do want someone else up here to kind of round things off. I think Kung Lao is pretty strong. A lot of people underestimate Kung Lao, but he got some nice buffs to make him a bit more effective, and some people love his armor break. I think it's good for beating certain wake-up situations and Fatal Blow. I don't think it's the best for combos, But even so, if Kung Lao can force you to drop, that's good because he does not need meter to extend his combos anyway. So I don't think his armor break necessarily needs to beat breakaway, it just needs to serve a bigger purpose, and people say it does, at least the Kung Lao mains say that. So I think that's going to be it for the second row for now, and don't pay too much attention to the letters. People get really hung up on the letters. All that matters is left to right, top to bottom. A lot of people who make these videos will tell you that. It doesn't matter the letter. This could be S+, S, and S-. It's the same thing to me. I'm just ordering them from strongest to weakest. Once again, based on their overall favorable and unfavorable matchups. So for this third row, I'm gonna go ahead and put Frost here. Sonic Fox had Frost higher up, and then Ninja Killa had Frost in this row. I think Frost is pretty solid. I think she puts a lot of work in, and I think she had some nice additions to her arsenal. I think Frost is very solid. I don't think she excels at anything, but I do think she's upper mid tier, where if you lose with Frost, it's pretty much your fault. I don't think you have any excuses. She's a very solid character. And in fact, I even saw her Frostbite variation being used at a tournament level, and that blew my mind. I thought that variation was useless, and it didn't matter because the other two were so good. But it turns out even that variation where her head turns into a bomb, that one can be viable too. I had no idea. And honestly, I think Noob Saibot is very solid too. I'd put him right around here just because Noob still doesn't have any crazy decent mids, and the one he does have is punishable on block, so you have to be careful with it. It's more of a poke than it is something to throw out for a hit confirm. It's pretty risky in certain matchups, and again, it's matchup based, this tier list. And then Collector. I think Collector might actually go in front of Saibot, and maybe even in front of Frost. Collector has gotten a lot better, but let's go ahead and put him here for now. Collector, especially in variation 3, he really hurts. And then if you want a less aggressive variation but with more evasive abilities, you can pick variation 1, and then as a wild card you still have variation 2, which was never bad, and has some interesting airborne attacks. So I think Collector is more solid than he's ever been, but it's mainly his variation 3 that's going to see him rising up the tier list, because that thing is just nuts. And you know what, now I think it's time for Kotal Kahn. He got stronger in general thanks to a very good armor break, and his variation 3 had like a normalization that I think makes it a bit weaker, but it was never really an issue either way. It's still a really good variation, it still dominates certain matchups. He honestly still has one of the best command grabs in the entire game. It's super useful, buffs his damage, and it's easy to do. It's the easiest command grab input in the entire game, so it's still very strong. And then they also buffed variation 2, which I still don't think is good for what they want it to be, but it does beat projectiles and zoning if you want to use it for that. I think that Bullock is still better, but if you want to do variation 2, it's meant to be the one that beats keep away, and it's pretty decent at that. And you know what, how about Devore? Let's put Devore up here. I think Devore is a decent character. She got a bunch of damage buffs, which is nothing that the Devore players really wanted. They wanted some hitbox changes and some better frame data, but they got damage. I don't know what to tell you. A very similar thing happened to Shao Kahn. They gave him a bunch of damage and even ruined one of his strings and said, there you go, it's what you wanted, right? And we're like, no. And it's the same with Devore. She wanted better frames, but she got better damage. The thing is, at a high level of play, if you know what you're doing, Devore was not a weak character. She can't do some things that other characters can do, but at the same time, she can do certain things that most characters can't. So it kind of evens out just in a weird, unnatural kind of way. But I do think she's very decent, and she got her damage buff, so that's good. And real quick, I'm going to move Terminator to no, I actually like where he is. I was gonna move him because Sonic Fox and Ninja Killa have him way up here, and he also got buffs, so I'm thinking I should move him, but I think this makes sense to me. This might be the one time where I stray kind of far from their tier list because I just think he's a bit weaker. I almost never see anybody use him, so he can't be super strong if no one's ever playing him. And of course, I'm referring to tournaments, not just online play. Like at the highest level of play, I don't see very many Terminators. Oh, and I almost forgot about Nightwolf. I'm gonna go ahead and put Nightwolf around here. I think that's a good spot for him. He didn't get a very good armor break, unfortunately. He got it in a variation that has pretty much no combo potential anyway. It can still beat fatal blows, but to me, the main point of an armor break should be to kind of stop breakaway for the most part. Once again, an exception being Kung Lao. So I don't think his armor break changes too much, and outside of that, not a ton of changes. He has better combos too in variation 3, but I still don't think he's as safe as some characters. It's probably a tie between him and Noob Saibot. Honestly, I think they're pretty even. And I'm gonna go ahead and put Katana right here. I think Katana is still a very solid character. Remember at one point when everybody said that Katana was top 5? And she's only gotten buffs since then, but she's still not top 5 anymore somehow. She hasn't been nerfed at all. In fact, I'm gonna go ahead and put her in front of Terminator too. For me personally, if I'm playing her, I would put her in front of Kotal Kahn, but I'm not sure if she excels in as many matchups as he does. But I do think Katana is very good. She's super solid. There was a time when she was way up higher and now no one agrees, so I'm not sure exactly what happened. I don't think everyone got buffed around her, but she got buffed too, but she's still around here, I think, for now at least. I might go over the whole thing at the end and make some changes here and there, but for now, this is where she resides. Okay, and now I really want to finish up this row. So Spawn, I think, is going to be around here. Spawn, I think, is super solid. I see that Sonic Fox and Ninja Killa have Sonya, and they have her in front. I don't know, I think it's a toss-up. I think like these three, it's kind of a toss-up. I think that Sonya has the mix-ups that Spawn doesn't really have, but Spawn has way higher damage now. He can cash out super hard. If you corner him, you're dead. He has really good keep away, just as good as Sonya's pretty much, only minus the crushing blow, but he still gets to just do projectiles whenever he wants to, and he has a command grab, which Sonya does not have. I've got to find a place for Johnny Cage though. I think Johnny Cage got a lot weaker, unfortunately. Ninja Killa and Sonic Fox had him up high, but that was before all of the nerfs that he got. Like, his best stuff got changed. So he already had bad matchups against most female hitboxes and some male hitboxes like Aaron Black and Raiden, and then he got his plus frames taken away too. So he lost pretty much everything. I'm not sure how he would be now. Maybe like around here? Because he's still solid, let's be real. Johnny Cage still plays footsies super well, and he still has the easiest hit confirms in the game. They're just not plus anymore. He just gives up his turn. So I'd say he's still pretty solid. I'm gonna go ahead and put him around here for now. Man, he fell super far. He was like way up here, but to me, really, he lost all the reason to even play him, unless you just like Johnny Cage, because now every character does what he used to do better than him. Okay, and next up, I think Baraka. I feel bad for Baraka. He's fallen from grace quite a bit, huh? Poor guy. I think Baraka is solid, but he's just not as solid as these characters, and he does lose hard to certain playstyles, whereas these characters just don't. If I feel too bad, I may throw him up there, like behind Sonya or something. But keep in mind, none of these characters are bad aside from like the bottom row, which there will be some, unfortunately. But I don't consider any of these characters bad. They just have some really tough matchups. They struggle a bit more. Whereas once again, if you're at the top, you don't have any bad matchups. You can play the way you want to play pretty much regardless. Sandell. I kind of want to, no, I can't put Sandell in front of Baraka, even though I think that Sandell like does what she does better, but she loses super hard to even the lightest zoning and keep away. She has options, but it's very tough, whereas Baraka just Blade Spark. He just throws out his projectile and he's good to go. He's got a pretty decent projectile. And then Jade. Yeah, I mean, Jade is really decent online when it comes to higher play, not as much, doesn't have the most favorable matchups. And in fact, you know what? I'm gonna go ahead and move Sandell too, because I'm checking out like Ninja Killa's tier list and she's much higher, and I agree with that. I'm gonna put her like around here. I think she's much better than where Sonic Fox has her. I've seen her a lot more at tournaments. I've seen people exploring with her, and I know only like a few players are using her, but even so, she's winning like grand finals. So if that's possible, she has to be decent. Like she has to be mid-tier. There's no way she's down here. Scorpion, this is a tough one because Scorpion is way better at dealing with keep away and zoning, and he has better mixes than Baraka, but he's also taking a lot more risks than Baraka, so it's tough to say. I'm gonna go ahead and put him in front just because some of those changes were super dope. Like some of the aftermath changes are actually really cool, and I can't wait to see all his restands and stuff. You know what? I'm gonna go ahead and say Scorpion's like around here now, just because of the aftermath update. I gotta keep factoring that in. Like it's a big deal. He got some nice changes in aftermath. So I think he's more like up here. Kano. We're almost out of room for this row is the problem. We're running low. Who can I take out of this row? Oh man, I shouldn't look at it that way anyhow. Kano. Kano definitely better than Baraka at this point, but it requires a skilled player, but he covers everything. Variation 3 has the combos, really good counter zoning. He actually has a decent armor break. People all complaining about his armor break. It is tough to time, I will say that, but it's not a bad armor break in terms of utility. It can do some really cool stuff. And then where would Sub-Zero be? Like where would I put Sub-Zero? I want to say that he's more solid than Jade. Like I do want to say that. And this character, by the way, is the biggest difference I've found between these two tier lists to my right. Sub-Zero is like way up here, according to Ninja Killa. And then according to Sonic Fox, he's bottom tier, like we're talking bottom 3. It's funny, they really can't agree on this character. I think Sub-Zero has potential, especially online. He's very annoying, but I feel like offline, he's not as much of a monster, and he didn't get any huge changes. His armor break's not super great. He got so few changes. He's pretty much exactly how NetherRealm wants him to be, I suppose. You know what? I like where he is for now. I think it's fine. Once again, I may go back over this whole thing and real quick make some changes, but I like how this looks for now. Scarlet, ooh, man, Scarlet is suffering. She's suffering really hard. She didn't get fixed in any ways that really mattered. She's still fine online. You can make Scarlet work, but at a high level of play, when someone can flawless block all your stuff, especially at a tournament, you're in trouble. Because none of her options work. It's a real shame. And she's not just like losing her turn, she's getting full punished without even having to do a reversal. You can just do a regular attack. It's honestly really depressing. It's amazing how they didn't address any of the problems we actually had and just gave her some weird changes here and there. All she got was the 4/4 buff, which is nice, but that's all she got. Everything else is pretty much the same. All the problems remain. And then we have like the bottom three again, unfortunately. I think Raiden is definitely, here's the weird part about Raiden. I think that Raiden is actually good and has potential. I'd say Raiden could put him at least around here, but everything else makes him weaker. According to Ninja Killa, he's just terrible. According to Sonic Fox, he's godlike. I'll be real, I don't see anybody playing him. So I'm wondering how good can he actually be when no one's even using him. So maybe he does deserve to be like around here or something, because if no one's playing him, then what does that tell you? It tells you that everyone else is a better option. So he must not be that great, but I do think Raiden puts him above most of the other things, and he had some nice changes too in Aftermath. Even to Variation 1, he had some nice changes. Oh, Scarlet also had a teleport buff. I should mention that too. And then, oh man, Shao Kahn. He's still there at the bottom. Poor little Shao Kahn. Poor Big Daddy Shao Kahn. Oh man. So, you know, I'm gonna put him here. I don't think Shao Kahn's bottom anymore. I just think that he suffers. So here's the thing, right? Like, Shao Kahn has more flaws than Scarlet does, in my opinion, because his main string is now punishable. It has a mix-up at the end that you do pretty much have to guess on, so it has that. But if they guess right, full combo on you. So he essentially lost his best string, which was safe before. And on top of that, he got a bunch of damage though, which Scarlet does have, but not as much. Like, Shao Kahn literally deletes your health bar if you know what you're doing. Like, from mid-screen we're talking 50%, in the corner we're talking almost 60%, and he doesn't even need Fatal Blow. He can just delete you. So even with all those weaknesses, does the damage make up for it? I'm not sure. I'm not sure at all. I think it's a toss-up. They're probably tied right now for the end here, which is a shame. And now, last but not least, we have the DLC characters. I was waiting to move them around because I wanted to see where everybody else was and then throw in the DLC characters. So Fujin. I know a lot of casual players who don't watch tournament play or don't watch like pro players use these characters online would think he's garbage. He's not. He just has to work super hard. He's almost like a weaker version of Jackie in Variation 3, where she has crazy inputs that she can do, and that makes her top of the top. Whereas Fujin has some crazy difficult inputs just to play the game normally, but it allows him to play the game at a pretty decent level. So I would say Fujin is like, he's up there, I'd say. Like, he's around here or so maybe. I don't think he excels at damage in any way whatsoever, which is an issue, and he has some cool things that he can do, but the timing is so ridiculous, that's the problem. If he wants to do regular things like a combo similar to Kung Lao where he can launch meterlessly, it requires super specific timing, which can be done at a high level, but I find it stupid he has to do that. And he also has a mid. His best mid with good range is super unsafe. You can make it safe, but it requires you to amplify one of his special moves and then drop out of it, which costs you 1 offensive bar and 1 defensive bar, just on the off chance that you land that mid. That's so ridiculous that he has to do that. Now, thankfully, at a lower level, he can keep himself safe with just a special move, because no one's gonna flawless block that special move at a lower level. So, like, he's decent. He's not terrible. Everyone thought he was bottom tier. He's not bottom tier. He's not terrible. I think he's doing pretty good. And since this row is being filled up, let's just go ahead and put Kano in there too. Why not? Like, why not put Kano up there? In fact, they had Kano much higher than me, so I don't even know what I'm doing. Kano should be like around here probably. They have him much higher than I do. So I'm gonna go ahead and put Kano around there. Sonya here. Sub-Zero, maybe, boop, right there. That should work. So right now we have this tier list going. This row got fat. I was trying to keep this row from getting fat, but once again, A tier is the fat row. But I think it's working out so far. I like what we got here. I think it makes sense. I'm proud of our accomplishments today. Shiva. Shiva, I think, is the best of the DLC characters. She's super solid. Every 3 variation has something different that it brings to the table, and they're all useful. They're all viable variations. I think 3 would be the best because it has the crazy 50-50s to end the combo, and they're both deadly options for you as the opponent. If she goes low and you guess wrong, you take some damage and also bleed damage, which means you can't move. If you do, you're taking damage, and she can force you to move with her stomp. And then if she guesses correctly, she can still crush you. So damage from you moving plus the stomp, it's gonna hurt a lot. And then if you guess wrong by crouching, the overhead leads to a full combo. So either way, you're in a lot of trouble. and then she can choose to just go into her run instead, and her run can be plus on block, it can also be an overhead mix-up, and it can also cancel to go for throws and more mix-ups. So she's very scary. And then variation 1 has the crazy anti-air, variation 2 has the easiest conversions into combos, like stupid easy. So they're all good. They're all good. I'd say she's up here somewhere. I kind of want to put her up here, but that's probably too crazy to say. But I'll say she's like around here. I think she's very good, and she's safe on everything. Did I mention that? Like none of her strings are punishable, and they may have flawless block gaps, but you can change that. She has one of the best fireballs in the game, which is ridiculous. She has a super good fireball game. She should not have that, but she does. And the reason why she does is because NetherRealm does not know how to make a character who can deal with keep away without also giving them keep away. That's the problem. That's the only way NetherRealm knows how to do that right now. And speaking of keep away, we have Robocop, who I think is also very solid, but he's so boring. I would say that Robocop is like a weaker version of Cassie, because he can go under projectiles, and he has like a decent standing projectile and all of that, and he has meterless combos, but you can duck all of them. I think you may assume that Robocop is really good, but as the game ages and you learn to recognize his animations, you're gonna start ducking all the highs that he has, and he doesn't even have any ways to stop you. And if he tries to and you just block normally, he's made himself punishable, because those special moves that hit mid are unsafe on block. So I don't think he's super great, honestly. He's not bad. I'd still put him in this row, but I'm wondering where. Around here or so is where I would put Robocop. He's got some really good keep away, sure, but if you want good keep away, just play Cassie, right? Or just play Centurion, for sure. If you want really good keep away, I just bring up Cassie because she has like the low gunshot that does the exact same thing Robocop's does, only his crushing blows, but hers is a full combo, so it's better. Hers is much better. And hers, when you amplify, it anti-airs the whole screen, not just like the ground. So it's really, really dirty, super strong. And then Chronica is in bottom tier because she's literally unplayable. I can't even use this character, she's so bad. You get the joke. You get the joke. So right now, here is the tier list, and now it's time to go through and make any changes. Fujin, he's probably more around there. I don't think I'd put him in front of Nightwolf just because he requires meter to do all the basic stuff. So I'd say maybe more around there. And he's not in front of Kotal Kahn either, no way. Probably more around here. He used to have some glitches. Back when he had the glitches, he would have been way up there because he had infinites, and they weren't even tough. He had like a mid-screen infinite, then the corner one was even easier, so he had infinites, but I'm pretty sure they patched all of that, so. But everything else so far is like lining up super hard with Ninja Killa and Sonic Fox. I made some deviations, but on the most part, I agree with them. Yeah, so overall, I like how this tier list turned out. And once again, do not get depressed if your favorite character is lower down. None of these characters are bad. If you lose with Baraka online, it's not because he's here on the tier list, it's because you didn't use him right. All of these characters can win. With the one tiny exception maybe being Shao Kahn, because even Scarlet, most players cannot flawless block all of her gaps and they can't exploit her weaknesses, but Shao Kahn has been made straight up unsafe on his best string, which means even though his damage got increased, he's still making a bunch of risks, whereas before he didn't have to. He could play a lot safer and then just optimize with good damage, like above average damage, whereas now he's making a big risk, just leaving his life on the line. But if he's correct, he's doing way more damage than before. I don't agree with that change. I think his damage could have been the same and just make that special move cancelable out of that one string, which they did, but also made that string unsafe, which was stupid. There was no reason to do that. I'm sorry, that was malicious. That had to be intentionally just to hurt the Shao Kahn fans. But yes, right now this is my tier list for Aftermath. Unless anything crazy happens later on, this is how I believe the characters are ranked. But please let me know your tier list in the comment section down below. And then while you're down there, please leave a like if you enjoyed the video. It really does help my channel out a ton. And finally, why not keep that combo going by subscribing and ringing that bell? That way you never miss a future video. Make sure to come back next time, and as always, stay underdogs.